To allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Prayer this morning but will be offered by the good delegate from Howard County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, if you would prepare for prayer. Bless us this day as we meet to do the work before us. Bless us this day as we strive to be worthy of the responsibility placed upon us. Bless us this day as we hope to stay humble and courageous and honest and true. May we treat one another and all those with whom we interact with respect and empathy, and honor the strengths with each one of us bring. May we hear and not simply listen, share and not only speak, flourish and not merely occupy space. May we be a blessing to others, and may we always be kind. Please repeat after me. I am not perfect, but I'm perfectly me. I've done some bad things, but I'm not a bad person. I've made some mistakes, but I'm not a mistake. And I'm getting better in every way, every day. Amen.
Yes. Amen. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker. Yes.
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. There being 129 members present, the House is now in session. Clerk will read the journal from the previous day.
Annapolis, Maryland, March the 3rd, 2023.
Recognizing the Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the journal.
So ordered. Petitions, memorials, and other papers. House resolutions. Recognizing the sponsor. Good lady from Prince George's County.
Madam Speaker, it gives me great pleasure today to recognize the Maryland Association of Resources for Family and Youth, also known as MARFI. This organization is an association of private child care organizations providing foster care, group homes, and other services through more than 200 programs across the state of Maryland. MARFI advocates on behalf of the provider community through its lobbyists in Annapolis and its member-led coalitions improve the state system of care for youth and families. They further legislated interests such as rate setting, labor laws, foster care and placement regulations, and procurement issues, and is now considered the go-to group for state officials seeking provider input on the system of care in the state of Maryland. Today, Madam Speaker, we want to recognize, and to all of my colleagues, we want to recognize the Maryland Association of Resources for Family and Youth for 50 years of service to Maryland's most vulnerable children. Would you all please join me in giving them a hand of congratulations?
Will the reading clerk please read the resolution in full?
Be it hereby known to all that the House of Delegates of Maryland offers its sincerest congratulations to the Maryland Association of Resources for Families and Youth in recognition of 50 years of service to Maryland's most vulnerable children. The entire membership extends best wishes on this memorable occasion and directs this resolution to be presented on this 10th day of March 2023.
Message from the Senate. Consent calendar number 13. Senate bills introduced in the House. The clerk will read the first bill and committee assignment.
Senate Bill 18, Senator West, Appropriations.
Recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So much be considered the reading of SB 18 is the reading of all the bills on the calendar.
Hearing no objections, the bills are read the first time and referred to the appropriate committee. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Clerk will take the call. There being 133 members present, the House is still in session. Calendar of third reading House bills number 23. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 39, Corporate Income Tax, Returns of Publicly Traded Corporations Reporting Requirement.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 96 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 39, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 119, County Boards of Education, Curriculum Guides and Courses of Study Requirements.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate?
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing gentlelady from Baltimore County.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I would like to point out, you all probably got an email from MABE yesterday opposing this bill. They think that what this bill does is take away their local authority. They have other reasons within that email that they've provided for all of us as to why we should vote against this bill, so I would urge you to vote red on this bill.
Is there any further debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 96 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 119, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 299, Environment, Synthetic Turf, Chain of Custody.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 103 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 299, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading House bills number 24. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 320, Maryland Longitudinal Data System, Definition of Student Data Alteration.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 127 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 320, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 547, Family Prosperity Act of 2023.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? Recognizing the minority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This bill is part of Governor Moore's legislative package, and he said something on his inauguration day that I don't think a single one of us would ever disagree with. He said we have to take steps to attempt to eradicate child poverty in Maryland. That is a huge endeavor. It's probably beyond the ability of state government, own utilization, own tools to do, but it's a worthy endeavor and goal. And the bill is designed to do that through the administration of something called the Earned Income Tax Credit. Many of us, many Republicans, support the concept and the goals of the Earned Income Tax Credit and have done so historically because it encourages people to work. There is a value and a dignity in work. There is a pathway in work that enables you to rise up from your circumstances that is difficult to do through the simple receipt of benefits. We believe that. We believe that it changes families. It provides wonderful role models to encourage people to work, and they get a tax break and a tax credit associated therewith. And I would be very proud and very happy to vote and support that bill. There is an element of this bill, I think you'll see people who vote against the bill, and you heard the remarks of one of our colleagues with respect to an amendment the other day about the bill. And there is a reason why many of us will vote against the bill, and I wanted to have a brief moment or two to explain that so that everyone understands why. There is a category of people known as I-10 filers, and they are not lawful residents or citizens of the United States, but yet they are here. A significant amount of them, as my friend from Montgomery County explained the other day, a significant amount of them work here lawfully under the auspices of the federal government. And I think that's one thing that it's very important that all of us remember. We talk a lot, we are not D.C., we are not D.C. Please remember that, we are not D.C. We are not in charge of the immigration laws of the United States of America. Our actions do not change them in any way, shape, or form. That is a matter of federal policy. And although many of us may, in our hopes and dreams, when we go to sleep at night, imagine that we will be Congress people, we are not today. And so we cannot change those policies. The I-10 filers and the individuals who are lawfully here, who the federal government has determined have a right to work here, they are contributing to our tax system. I and many of my colleagues have absolutely no objection whatsoever to including them in the EITC tax credit program that we're about to pass. And I can tell you that I really, really would like to also support that for that group of individuals who are not lawfully here. They're not working lawfully. They don't have a legal status as conferred by the federal government to work. I think they're getting the short end of the stick in some ways because they go to work every day, because they file a tax return. They are contributing. I'm not going to stand up here and tell you that those individuals are not contributing. They are. They are. And this bill would give them the Earned Income Tax Credit back. But what they're doing, and what the employers who are employing them are doing, is they're lawfully evading federal immigration law. We can debate, this isn't the time or place for it, whether that's fair or whether that's not. I can tell you that in my mind and in my heart, immigration is a very complex issue. I would love to see the United States of America find a way to really deal with the issue so that these workers, so that these people, so that people who come to our shores, because we are a nation of immigrants. We are a nation of immigrants. I am too. I would love to find a way for them to become a full-fledged part of the American dream and embrace the great melting pot that our country was born in, and it is the only way that we will succeed. I'd love to see that. But we can't do it. And so by extending, we can't do it from these rooms. And so by extending the EITC credit to those I-10 filers, we believe that you're essentially creating a workaround of federal law and incentivizing people to essentially, whether they be employers, whether they be the employees, to essentially commit violations of federal immigration law. I don't think of America as a place. America is a outcropping of dirt and rock between the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. America is an idea, and it is an idea that has borne great strength in the hearts and the minds and the souls of millions and billions of people since it was first brought forth upon this earth nearly 250 years ago. You do not necessarily have to be born in America to want to be an American. That is an amazing and significant thing, and I want to make sure that all of those in this body and in this legislature understand that our party does not object to that concept. But we do believe that this particular bill, extending those benefits to those who are not lawfully here and to employers who really cannot be lawfully employing them, is a mistake. I wish that it was not in the bill. I would love to vote for the bill. I would love to work together to find another way to bring these individuals fully into the light, legally, of our society. But because they exist in the bill and because our extending that tax credit to them would in fact constitute a workaround of a higher law, we'll vote against this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, so far the debate on this bill today and earlier this week has been focused on a very small group of Marylanders who would be eligible for these tax credits. But this bill is so much broader. We actually are the wealthiest state in the nation. But in spite of that fact, 1 in 8 children in Maryland are growing up in poverty. 1 in 8. And these kids aren't just struggling today. Their families are not just struggling today. Unfortunately, these kids are being set up for a lifetime of struggles. That is what decades of scientific research shows us. That these kids are less likely to do well in school, they are less likely to graduate from high school, they are more likely to engage in risky behavior, they're less likely to go to college, and less likely to have good earnings as an adult to be able to have a decent life for themselves and for their future families. But there is a proven solution to this, and it is the Earned Income Tax Credit, it is the Child Tax Credit. In fact, the federal Earned Income Tax Credit is considered the largest and most effective anti-poverty program in the history of America. And we've seen the success of these tax credits in recent years. When Congress acted in the midst of the pandemic to expand these 2 federal tax credits, in just a single year, childhood poverty in the United States was driven to a record low. And then because of congressional inaction, the expansions of those credits lapsed. And within the very first month of returning to the status quo, childhood poverty in our nation increased by 41%. So it is more important than ever that we act here in Maryland to take care of the kids in our state. This bill is going to help more than 400,000 low-income working Marylanders, both U.S. citizens and immigrants, who are working and paying their taxes by making permanent the expansions to the Earned Income Tax Credit that we passed a few years ago. And by expanding our state's child tax credit, we're going to make 40,000 families newly eligible for that credit. These are incredibly important steps that we can take right now to fulfill the governor's ambitious but worthwhile goal of ending childhood poverty in this state. And that's why I'll be proud to be voting green today. Thank you.
Is there any further debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 101 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 547, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 705, Declaration of Rights, Right to Reproductive Freedom.
It's on 3rd reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 99 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 705, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of 3rd reading, House Bills number 25. Clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 556, Cannabis Reform.
Is on 3rd reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, clerk will call the roll. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just getting ready to get it voted on. Chairman of the committee.
I'm sorry, Madam Speaker, but if the body could divulge for just a moment. I just didn't want to gloss over the effort and amount of work that was put into this bill, especially we venturing into unknown territory and kind of doing things from scratch. So if you could just indulge me for a few moments. Permission to use delegates' names?
Permission granted.
Thank you. I would like to thank Chairwoman Atterbury, Chair of the Black Caucus, Delegate Wilkins, Chairman Clippinger, my staff, Bob, Tiffany, and Erica, Jeremy, Matt, and the Vice Chair, because of their input in the bill and obviously their patience with me. And as we've said before, this bill had the main goals of getting rid of the illicit drug market, that we have safe consumption, immediate access to that, and that we can give back somehow, some way to those who are disproportionately impacted by the war and the sale of drugs. We do not leave our Marylanders out, and we knew this was not designed to be a tax boom. We created regulatory bodies such as the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Cannabis Commission, the Office of Social Equity within that commission, to advise and consult on social equity issues related to cannabis, provide business assistance as well as free technical support, created an advisory board for adult use cannabis so the industry could have a voice. We defined a social equity applicant to ensure our first round goes to those individuals that were affected by the war on drugs and that they have a proper 65% ownership. We created a group of licenses starting again from scratch to convert these medical licenses immediately. We created standard micro licenses. We created an application process that starts as low as $1,000 and goes up to $5,000. We created several rounds in order for this to roll out to make sure each and every time that we are doing right by our state and that it's measured, and we have a diversity study. We even have set-asides for those black farmers that for 100 years were refused access to finances and support from the USDA under Pickford v. Glickman. We did our best to make sure that we protected our state in the industry, stopping it from being dominated by out-of-state and large corporations by limiting the size, the grow, the types of ownership, creating forensic audits, clawbacks, ensuring that they reserve spaces for new businesses, and even stuff like advertising. No road signs. You have to have at least 85% adults before you can even think about advertising. And we wanted this to be safe and accessible. We created testing from seed to sale to stop the illegal and chemically made cannabis, random inspections, and thanks to Madam Chair, we have a very low tax rate of 6% starting out, capping out at 10%. We created several funds called the Cannabis Business Assistance Fund, Cannabis Public Health Fund, and the Community Repair Fund in order to get this program off the ground. Because in conclusion, this is a $1 to $2 billion industry for Maryland alone. You might not have agreed with marijuana or the vote that our citizens took, but they took it. So it's now our obligation to create an adult use program. And it's our duty to ensure that Marylanders can receive the benefit of ownership in this industry. The citizens can have access to safe and effective cannabis without fear of adverse health effects or violence. The small business can flourish in Maryland under this industry, and the communities were ravaged by the war on drugs are in some small part allowed to finally benefit from marijuana. And personally, my goal is to change the narrative that black men can finally be arrested and murdered for using or selling cannabis. So for all those reasons, Madam Speaker, I am honored to ask for a green vote on House Bill 556. Thank you.
Any further debate? Not, clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 103 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 556, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading, House Bills number 26. Clerk, read the bill.
House Bill 535, Election Law, Ballots, Issuance, Processing, and Reporting Procedures.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 96 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 535, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Madam Speaker.
Yes. Vote changed?
Yes, Madam Speaker, my button wasn't working. I wish to be recorded in the affirmative on the last bill. Thank you.
Gentlelady from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My button didn't work. I wish to be voted in the green. Thank you.
Any other vote changes? Ruth.
Madam Speaker, I
Yes.
missed the vote.
Yes. I didn't hear what you
Didn't
said.
work. I want to vote yes.
On, I assume 535 you're talking about?
Yes.
Is there any other vote changes, missed votes, or lost votes? Hearing none. Calendar of third reading, House Bills number 27. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 37, Commercial Law, Consumer Protection, Telephone Solicitation, Stop the Spam Calls Act of 2023.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 134 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 37, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 884, Baltimore City Insurance, Certificates of Guarantee for County Bond Requirements.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 136 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 884, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 913, Financial Institutions, Student Financing Companies, Required Registration and Reporting.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? Not, the clerk will take the call. There being 136 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 913, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 914, Public Service Commission Judicial Review Proceedings.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? Recognizing the minority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would the floor leader rise just for a question?
Floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. So, well, I'm not going to say what does the bill do. Is it my understanding, so you have an administrative hearing before the Public Service Commission, you may be a utility company, you may be an agreed customer, you may be a provider of a regulated service, and then you want to appeal or seek judicial review, we would call it, of that decision. Does this bill direct a particular jurisdiction or a particular court where the appeal or the judicial review must go?
Yes, it's going to go to the Baltimore City Court of Appeals.
To the Baltimore City Circuit Court?
Or Circuit Court, I
Okay.
apologize. Yes.
And so if I have a utility project or a regulatory project within the ambit of the Public Service Commission that may be located or sited in Western Maryland, or maybe it's an offshore wind project from Worcester County, or maybe it's something in Prince George's County that's a trash incinerator project, and I want to appeal the Public Service Commission's decision as to what they did, I have to submit myself to the jurisdiction of the Circuit Court for Baltimore City now, rather than the jurisdiction within which the project is located or may have the most direct effect on people who live there.
This is for non-public utilities. So this is the non-public utility portion. If it's not, then it's whatever service jurisdiction of the PSC.
Okay, so that explains. So it's a public utility thing. Someone comes in and says, hey, I want to put a power plant in Prince George's County, and it's opposed by people in Prince George's County. Public Service Commission has the first crack at making that siting decision, that regulatory approval, and then those folks who are aggrieved by the decision, they can go to the Circuit Court for Prince George's County.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that. I appreciate
it.
Is there any further debate? Not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 104 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 914, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 1111, Baltimore County Insurance Certificates of Guarantee for County Bond Requirements.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 136 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 1111, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Report of the Committee on Judiciary, report number 6. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 824, Public Safety, Regulated Firearms, Possession, and Permits to Carry, Wear, and Transport a Handgun. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the chairman of the committee.
Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 adds co-sponsors and is technical. Amendment number 2 modifies and expands an existing prohibition on access to a firearm by an unsupervised child younger than 16 years old by establishing that a person may not store and leave a loaded firearm in a location where an unsupervised minor younger than 18-year-old could gain access to the firearm. It strikes language that required a handgun permit to be renewed for a successive period of 2 years as opposed to 3. It alters a provision to allow for the issuance of a handgun permit for a person rather than an adult who is a member of the Armed Forces of the United States, the National Guard, or the Uniformed Services, and requires the Deputy Secretary for Public Health Services to develop a youth suicide prevention and firearms safe storage guide with recommendations from a stakeholder committee. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? No. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Recognizing the minority whip.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I see that we just adopted some amendments. Would it be possible for our caucus to kind of review these over the weekend to an appropriate time, Tuesday special order till appropriate time on Tuesday?
Not opposed to a Tuesday special order.
Question for the House is to special order HB 824 to the appropriate time on Tuesday. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The bill has been special ordered. Report of the Committee on Judiciary, report number 7. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 18, Maryland General and Limited Power of Attorney Act, Assistance with Governmental Benefits and Programs. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 adds co-sponsors and is technical. Amendment number 2 clarifies the authority of an agent under the Maryland Statutory Personal Financial Powers of Attorney form, provides for the granting of a successor agent or agents and compensation allowance for an agent under the form, defines tangible property as it relates to the titled and untitled personal property and an agent managing the property, clarifies the granting of specific authority with regards to gifting and transferring a gift to certain persons, provides for joint accounts and beneficiaries and survivorship rights for joint accounts, and allows for the disclaiming of property, clarifies the provisions related to a benefit referred to governmental benefits, and makes technical changes. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 36, real property, actions to repossess, proof of rental licensure. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Are you the floor leader? I'm not. Well, you shouldn't be
I
standing
am,
up right
Madam
now.
Speaker. Move so much be considered the
Floor
reading of the
leader.
amendments. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Thank you. Amendment number 1 adds co-sponsors. Amendment number 2 clarifies the bill provisions do not apply to actions to repossess for a certain breach of lease. Requires a landlord filing a complaint to repossess to plead with supporting facts that a property is licensed in compliance with local rental requirements, exempt or unlicensed under certain other exceptions, requires a landlord to demonstrate by a preponderance of the evidence that the property listed in the written complaint satisfies certain requirements or certain exemptions, and requires the court to grant one postponement under certain circumstances. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill to its title? The gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If I could ask the floor leader a question.
Floor leader.
Thank you. The last time I had to go to rental court, the judge actually had it in front of him. He could pull up if your property was properly licensed. Is that throughout the whole state? And that's why I was asking about why we was putting this bill in.
So with this bill, it will be a statewide policy that you will have to be licensed in order to go in for repossession.
Okay, so now what we're going to do is make sure that every jurisdiction is licensed under the rental law?
Well, there are going to be different provisions in different counties based on their license ordinances in local jurisdictions, but the statewide policy is going to be that you have to be licensed based on the local jurisdictions.
Okay, aren't we taking local power away from local jurisdictions? And the other question I would have is, that Baltimore County already has, and so does Baltimore City, and I'm sure other areas have certain regulations and certain things that has to be done, and the property has to be in a certain shape or certain condition. What happens is, how is this bill going to affect, let's say, Baltimore County, for example?
I don't think this bill is going to affect that at all. This is merely requiring landlords to have to meet. If there is a licensing requirement in the county, they have to show that they are properly, that their license is in proper order before they can proceed with any of the
Okay, I'm
repossession.
confused now, because I thought you first said that this bill would be statewide, that every jurisdiction would have to have a license. Am I correct?
No. What this says is that whatever license is required in the jurisdiction, that license has to be upstanding for them to be able to proceed.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Young lady from Baltimore County.
Thank you so much. I noticed that there is quite a bit of testimony on this, some favorable with amendments, some unfavorable. Floor Leader, would you be amicable to special ordering, letting me special order this bill until the appropriate time Tuesday so I can take a good look at it, please?
Yes. Yes, we will be okay with the special order till Tuesday. Let me just say that all of the folks that were unfavorable have now changed with the amendments that we put on. Everybody is okay with the bill.
Okay.
That being said, if you would like us to special order it, we can. Do you still want that?
Yes, please. Thank you. I believe you, but I would also like to read it. Thank you so much.
Question before the House is the special order HB 36 to the appropriate time on Tuesday. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The bill has been special ordered. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 162, Firearms Maryland Voluntary Do Not Sell Firearm Registry Establishment. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing Vice Chair of the committee. Floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 adds co-sponsors and is technical. Amendment number 2 strikes the Department of State Police from the bill and requires the Maryland Department of Health to create and maintain the registry on or before December 31st, 2023, and it requires the Department of Health in coordination with MVA and Comptroller to verify identity of applicants. and it authorizes the comptroller to disclose certain information to the Department of Health to verify an applicant's identity. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. The question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill to its title? Recognize your minority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Oh, if the floor leader would rise. Thank you, my friend. So you just mentioned some amendments where the registry is now going to be shifted, or it's going to be controlled by the Maryland Department of Health. Is that correct?
Yes. So what this bill is, just so everybody understands, it's a suicide prevention bill. This policy is done in Virginia and a number of other states, but basically a person who is having a moment of clarity and wishes to place themselves on a list to prevent themselves from being able to purchase a regulated firearm, handgun, may do so. This is similar to what we in Maryland do for gambling, where a problem gambler can put themselves on a list. And so the bill, as introduced, had the state police doing this, but after talking to a number of stakeholders, it was shifted to the Department of Health because they already maintain a daily database of people who are involuntarily denied the right to purchase a firearm because of a mental episode or something like that.
And that was sort of the genesis of my question. I saw that the state police had suggested they opposed the bill because they didn't think that they could or should maintain a registry. That gives people some pause to a certain extent, having a law enforcement agency that has a registry of who can or should or shouldn't have otherwise legal firearms. With respect to I like the word voluntary. So can you explain for me, can someone else put me on the list, or does it have to be my voluntary decision, as you mentioned, in a moment of clarity, that I contact the appropriate authority and say, please put me on this list so that if I change my mind tomorrow, I can't go buy the gun?
So you can take yourself off the list. It's a process to put yourself on and take yourself off. There's a delay for 3 weeks to get yourself off the list, and that's part of the suicide prevention effort, that you're basically creating a mandatory waiting period for yourself in order to purchase a firearm, because the quickest you'd be able to do it is 3 weeks to get yourself on and off the list. So that's the purpose of the bill. Now, as to your concern about whether someone might fraudulently put someone on the list, we did try and guard against this by doing some things that admittedly I didn't necessarily want to do. You know, I don't like creating new nonviolent criminal offenses, but we did put a 1-year penalty in here if you make a fraudulent application to deny someone their Second Amendment rights through this vehicle. And the second thing we did is the Comptroller and Motor Vehicle Administration are agreeing to do an identity verification process that starts with one that's similar to what you would see through an employment verification, where they're asking you for a birth certificate and 2 forms of address proof, that sort of thing. If they can't do that, you kick over to Comptroller's records. And then further, because of this very small number of people, this is not a huge bill, that we think are going to participate in this program. It's not in the bill, but there's an opportunity for manual verification from the Department of Health. And so I really think we've done as much as we can to try and cover this, and there's also restrictions on the data. No data is being retained. That which is the traces that are left can't be PIA'd. I think we did a good job here.
Okay, and I appreciate all that, and that I think clarifies for me. A third party is not permitted to. You said that there would actually be a criminal penalty if a third party tried to impersonate someone out of some crazy motivation and said, hey, I want to place I am this person and I want them placed on this list. They shouldn't be able to buy a gun. That actually now becomes a criminal violation under this bill. Is that correct?
Criminal violation, and we have at least 2 layers of identity verification that every applicant will go through.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification.
Is there any gentleman from Eastern Shore?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also have a question for the floor leader. In these other states that you had cited, are these lists being held by the Department of Health, or are they being held by their law enforcement agency?
You know, I don't actually know how each of them was constructed because I think they must all do it differently, and frankly, they all have different policies with respect to the manner of application, and so we really had to come up with something that made sense for Maryland. And since we already had the health department running this daily list, that's what the state police recommended to us would be the best option, and so we decided to follow their advice on how to construct this program.
That was my second question. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Yes.
To the floor leader, couple more questions. On this, you said the process to get off the list takes 3 weeks. Is there any other details you could give us on that process?
Sure. It's actually basically retracing the application process. The same identity verification to come off the list is going to be applied to getting on the list. You'll be notified when you've succeeded in getting on or off the list, and there's deadlines for how long they can take to process this all in the bill.
When you say the process, is it a matter of if this person calls up and says, I want to be on this list today, a month from now they call up and say, I want to be off this list, it's that simple, or do this
Well,
process?
subject to the identity verification I described.
So
At each
prove
step,
that
we have to know that you're the person, in fact, that you say you are.
Okay, and that's it?
That's
it
it.
just automatically comes off then after that? The other question is, this database that's being kept by the Department of Health, is that being treated like HIPAA?
It is not disclosable for any purpose.
Okay. All right, thank you, Madam.
Is there any further debate? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 164, Sexual Offenses, Crime of Violence, and Lifetime Supervision. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the chair of the committee.
Move so much be the reading of amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 adds sponsors. Amendment number 2 limits the bill to adult offenders. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. The question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments, additional amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Report of the Committee on Judiciary, report number 8. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 287, Public Health, Prohibition on Transfer of Human Immunodeficiency Virus, repeal. Favorable.
Question for the House is adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 336, Courts, Expert Witnesses, Letter of Exception. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 411, Criminal Procedure Violation of Pretrial or Post-Trial Condition by Incarcerated Person, Victim Contact. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 591, Criminal Procedure Restitution Orders, Recording Fees. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 672, Family Law, Marriage Ceremony, Designation of Deputy Clerk. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 687, Estates and Trust Decanting, Maryland Trust Decanting Act, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 744, Criminal Law, Public Safety, Interference with a Public Safety Answering Point, Penalties, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 745, Criminal Law, False Statements, Emergency or Commission of Crime, Anti-Spotting Act of 2023, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 747, Correctional Services, Inmate Employment, Agricultural Work, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 749, Juvenile Court, Concurrent Jurisdiction, Juvenile Offenses, and on Military Installations, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 761, Correctional Services, Inmate Labor, Alterations, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Appointments. The clerk will read the appointments.
Resolved that the Speaker makes the following joint statutory committee appointments: Joint Committee on the Chesapeake and Atlantic Coastal Bay's Critical Area, the Honorable Dana M. Stein, House Chair, the Honorable Nick Allen, the Honorable Carl Anderson Jr., the Honorable Sarah Love, the Honorable Rachel Munoz. Resolved that the Speaker makes the following joint statutory committee appointments: Joint Committee on Children, Youth, and Families, the Honorable Vanessa E. Atterbury, the Honorable Jason C. Buckle, the Honorable Eric Ebersole, the Honorable Kevin Harris, the Honorable Shanika Henson, the Honorable Rick Metzger, the Honorable April Rose, the Honorable Stephanie Smith, the Honorable Gerald Solomon. Joint Committee on Federal Relations, the Honorable Brian Chisholm, the Honorable Brian Crosby, the Honorable Mike Griffith, the Honorable Julian Ivey, the Honorable Andre Johnson, the Honorable Matthew Morgan, the Honorable Lily Shee, the Honorable Kirill Resnick. Joint Committee on the Management of Public Funds, the Honorable Tony Bridges, the Honorable Joshua Stanko, the Honorable Emily Shetty. Joint Committee on Unemployment Insurance Oversight, the Honorable Chris Adams, the Honorable David Fraser Hidalgo. Joint Committee on Workers' Compensation, Benefit, and Insurance Oversight Committee, the Honorable Andrew Prusky. Resolved that the Speaker makes the following joint committee appointment: Joint Committee on Protocol, the Honorable Frank M. Conway Jr., the Honorable Charles J. Otto, the Honorable Stuart Michael Schmidt. By order, Sylvia Seeger, Chief Clerk.
Okay. Hearing no objection, the appointments are adopted. Okay. That ends the work at the desk. Committee announcements, appropriations.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Subcommittees EED and PSA will meet at 1 o'clock to move their budgets out. At 1:30, HHS and T&E will meet to move their budget out. 2 o'clock, Capital PAGO will meet. In addition, the full committee will meet at 5 o'clock to vote and to move the full budget. Thank you.
Okay. Judiciary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, the House Judiciary Committee will be joining the Health and Government Operations Committee virtually for a bill hearing at 1 o'clock today.
Environment and Transportation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Environment and Transportation Committee will continue public bill hearings at 1 p.m. and we will have a voting session after that.
Okay. Ways and Means.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ways and Means, enjoy your weekend. Bye.
Economic Matters.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Economic Matters will have a chairs meeting immediately after session, followed by a voting session at 2 p.m. Again, immediately after session for the chairs voting session at 2 p.m.
Health and Government Operations.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Health and Government Operations Committee will have a full joint virtual hearing with the Judiciary Committee at 1 p.m. In addition, we will have a full committee vote session after the hearing ends. Thank you.
Okay.
Virtual also.
Virtual also. Okay. Any subcommittee announcements?
Madam Speaker?
Yes, go ahead.
Members, the House Economic Matters Alcohol Subcommittee, there's a time change. We will meet on Zoom at 12:30 today. 12:30.
12:30. Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Government Operations Subcommittee will meet at 1 o'clock on Monday. The link is in your email.
Any other subcommittees?
Madam Speaker?
Education.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Education Subcommittee will meet at 12:30 today.
Public Safety.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Public Safety Subcommittee will meet on Monday at 4 p.m. Monday at 4 p.m. via Zoom.
Okay. Public Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Public Health and Minority Health Disparities Subcommittee will meet on Monday at 3 p.m. via Zoom.
Family Law.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Family Law and Juvenile Law will meet Monday by Zoom at 11 a.m.
Any other subcommittee announcements? Delegation announcements? Any delegation announcements? Okay. All right. Caucus announcements. Okay, no caucus announcement. Recognizing Gentlelady from Baltimore County for Women's History Month.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, colleagues. I am here to recognize Women's History Month and to educate you a bit in remembrance of Dr. Bessie Louise Moses, who was a pioneer in the birth control movement. Born in Baltimore, she graduated from Western High School, Goucher College, and the Johns Hopkins University Medical School in 1922, which was rather amazing. She was the first woman OBGYN intern at Johns Hopkins. Dr. Moses organized the first contraceptive clinic in Maryland in 1927, and this is at a time when the federal Comstock laws made it illegal to share information about contraception with women. Dr. Moses was so courageous and probably a bit audacious, so she actually named her clinic, her illegal clinic, the Bureau for Contraceptive Advice. She stayed out of jail by stating that the Bureau was only for research and only treated married women who would not survive a pregnancy. However, it's interesting to note that she actually treated over 1,000 women, all supposedly in this limited category, within the first 5 years in Baltimore. No hospital would allow her to practice, and so she set up this bureau in a row home in Baltimore City. So as a Jewish woman, Betsy Moses was fought to expand contraceptive services to groups who were experiencing discrimination, particularly in the African American community. She had to recruit and train the African American doctors herself in order to do this. And in 1942, her Baltimore clinic became Planned Parenthood. Betsy Moses died in 1966, the same year that a federal court struck down the laws and finally made it legal to do what she had been doing for 40 years. She was inducted into the Maryland Women's Hall of Fame posthumously in 1991, and I am convinced that Dr. Bessie Louise Moses would be extremely proud of the work that we are doing in this body with the leadership of our Madam Speaker to protect reproductive health. Thank you.
Personal or guest announcements from Howard.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is my pleasure to introduce the Doctor of the Day, who resides in District 9B, Ellicott City, with his wife and 6 grown children, Dr. Martin Albanese, who is a cardiologist at St. Agnes Hospital. This is his first experience with us as Doctor of the Day. Please welcome him.
General Lee from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to speak in celebration of Harriet Tubman Day. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, it's my honor to rise and ask you to join me in commemorating Harriet Tubman Day. Although this is a national day of celebration, this day is particularly special to us here in Maryland, where Harriet Tubman was born. While the specific details about her date of birth are unknown, we do know that she was born Araminta or Minty Ross in March 1822 to Benjamin Ross and Harriet Green in Dorchester County. She was separated by slaveholders from her father when she was a child. And later, she was separated from her mother and her siblings as well. In 1849, young Harriet became a free woman after escaping from a plantation. And while she could have continued living her life as a free woman, enjoying the benefits of citizenship, instead, she spent most of her life fighting for others and strategizing ways to help more enslaved people secure their freedom. She worked odd jobs and saved money to help free other slaves. And as a person descended from African Americans who ran and won their freedom, leaving the United States to settle in Canada, I like to think that maybe Harriet helped my own ancestors. She repeatedly risked her life to guide at least 70 enslaved people north so they could start new lives in freedom. In her own words, she never ran her train off the track and she never lost a passenger. During the Civil War, Harriet planned and led an armed raid along the Combahee River, becoming the first woman to do so in U.S. military history. This lady was fierce. She is the embodiment of courage, fortitude, determination, and selflessness, a model for us all. Harriet Tubman dedicated her life to freedom, and her sacrifice and legacy has paved the path for us to follow in her footsteps and to lead one of the most diverse legislatures in this country in our history. Over 200 years after her birth, we have African American Marylanders serving and leading in this chamber. And just look around or look in the mirror and be proud. Let's all reflect and remember our Maryland hero, Harriet Tubman, not just as another well-known figure with a famous name, but for her selfless quest for freedom. Let's remember her today and every day as we work for the people of Maryland and recommit to eradicating the evils of segregation, of dispossession, discrimination, and other ills that plague us today. With that, I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Personal guest announcements. Gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is more of an announcement than anything. Colleagues, tomorrow the District 8 Parkville Knights will be playing the District 32 Meade Mustangs for the 4A Boys Basketball State Championship. The game will start at 8 p.m. at the Xfinity Center in College Park. Madam Speaker, permission to use delegate's name?
Permission granted.
Delegate Rogers and myself sit on the Economic Matters Committee and have a friendly wager that no matter who wins, our chair will treat both of us to dinner. We would like to thank our gracious chair in advance. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay, gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know that our chair probably missed that.
I know you like saying chair, but I'm not one right now.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I know that our chairman of the Economic Matters Committee missed that announcement, and I know that our vice chair, who happens to be a veteran and a soldier, is listening. So he is. We graciously volunteered that he will do 10 push-ups for every point for the margin of victory in Saturday's game.
Young lady from Prince George's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Permission to use the delegate name?
Permission granted.
Delegate Julian Ari and myself would like to announce that Joel Kenner, who's a peer mediator for us, who helps give out food in our community. I just want to let you know she's up in the gallery. Can you stand? Thank you.
Young lady from Prince George's. Yes, Prince George's, yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We have in the gallery one of our best institutions in the state of Maryland. Permission to use delegate's name.
Permission granted.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On behalf of myself and Delegate Kim Taylor, we have visiting us today President of Prince George's Community College, Dr. Felicia Williams, administrators, staff, and students, again, from Prince George's Community College, and they are in the gallery. Welcome. Could you please stand wherever you are? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You're welcome.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Please join us, AAPI caucus, welcoming distinguished guests of the U.S. Asia Institute, who have graced us with their presence here in Annapolis today. Representatives from 15 countries have converged here to find ways to connect with their provinces and foster stronger relationship with our great state. Madam State Secretary Susan Lee is hosting these esteemed dignitaries, and we hope their visit will be fruitful and mutually beneficial. They must be in the Senate gallery. If you see them around, just say hello. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Gentlelady from Hartford.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Vote change, if it's not too late. HB 914 from yay to nay. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Gentlelady from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, on behalf of the freshman Democratic delegates, would like to invite all of you out to their party this year. It'll be on Thursday, March 30th from 6 to 8:30 p.m. So, what? Let me get there. Let me get there, y'all. It will be at O'Brien's, and yes, we are aware that it is the same day as the Irish, our colleagues of the Irish Caucus. So please come through to the freshman party first, and then finish your evening with the Irish Caucus. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other personal guests? Where? Gentleman from Prince George's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Permission to use delegates' names?
Permission granted.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, on behalf of myself, Delegates Holmes and Taylor, please welcome in the gallery in front of us students and parents from the extended homeschool tutorial located in Bowie, Maryland, here to learn a little bit about what we're doing here in Annapolis. Additionally, Madam Speaker, again, permission to use delegates' names?
Permission granted.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Also, colleagues, please join us in welcoming students and faculty from the University of Delaware's Public Administration Graduate Program, also in the gallery in front of us. We're joined today by Dr. Jerome Lewis, a longtime public servant and educator of public administration, Star Duker, an alumni of the program and a constituent of District 23, along with 15 legislative fellows from the Delaware General Assembly. You guys picked a great day to be here in Annapolis. And again, I have to give a special shout out to Delegates Wilkins and Delegate Smith, who are also alumni of that program. And welcome to Maryland.
Any other personal or guest announcements? Seeing none. I want to welcome back the protocol chair. She's been announced.
Thank you.
Looking
Thank
well.
you.
And we need you to do what you do best. Thank you,
All
Dara
right, come on down, you sunshines. Here they go. Weren't they wonderful today? If I didn't see them go up and down these aisles today, y'all was working them. But that's okay. Look at they be all here with a smile. They enjoy working for y'all. I want y'all to know, and I hope that they will be back. Some of them will be back next week. And it's been a good week. I want you to know that I love y'all so much. I got out of my sick bed. I said, I got to introduce my sunshines. So here I am, letting y'all know the Delegate Turner is right on time. And when I call your name, please step up and wave and let all of your nice delegates in your area know who you are and how hard you work this week. Okay, first up, Grace Cardwood, Hartford County District 34B, Edgewood High School. Joey Cho, Baltimore County District 42A, Delaney High School. Aiden Hirsch, Calvert County District 27C, Calvert High School. Gabriel Moore, Charles County District 27A, St. Charles High School. Amen. Rock, Baltimore County District 44B, Western School of Technology. Timothy Stephen Jr., Baltimore City District 7A, Archbishop Curley High School. Mark Urbanus, Anne Arundel County District 33B, Archbishop Spangling High School. Thank y'all so much, sunshines. Hope you can be with us again next week. I and all of the delegates here appreciate your help, and come see us again and have a wonderful weekend. Even though it's going to rain, but I know you're going to enjoy every bit of it. Thank you for coming. Thank you very much, my sunshines.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Okay. Any other announcements? Okay. Quorum call. Before, you have another announcement?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. For members of the Prince George's County House delegation, we're going to be having a closed meeting in the Silver Room. Democratic Caucus. We're going to be having a closed meeting right after the floor in the Silver Room.
It's not closed when you announce the whole thing.
I'll repeat it again. For members of the Prince George's County Democratic Caucus, we'll be having a meeting in the Silver Room right after the floor.
Any other announcements? Young lady from Prince George's.
Right after the floor, Madam Speaker, thank you. Right after the floor, we ask that the members before this meeting take a picture with Prince George's Community College, Madam President, that is here. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Quorum call before adjournment.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their presence? Clerk will take the call. There being 132 members present, the House is still in session. Recognizing the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House stands recessed until Monday, March 13th at 8 p.m., Legislative Day, March 4th.